Hello, in this video we are going to look at how you might create a professional document. There are plenty of times where in my classes I've asked you to create a document. These assignments ask you to create a professional looking document, which it may have been a while since you've had the need to do so. Well, there's certainly lots of links that you can access out there on the internet. There's some basics I want to talk about. For example, you need to start off with a good editing tool for creating documents. Microsoft Word is one of them. You can do a lot of fancy adjustments with it, but the basic adjustments you need to do is to set the headings. These headings have programmatic aspects, and you'll find them in Word on the ribbon. If you wish to modify the look and feel of the heading, you can certainly do so. You can use the context menu by right-clicking, choosing Modify from the context menu, and then adjust the color or perhaps the size of the font to your preference. Once that's done, you do that for the other three headings and then use this document as a basic template for your work. At the beginning of any paper, you must put your name, the date, the course, and the assignment number. So, in my example, I put my name here. I put the date. At this point, let's see, today is October the 24th in 2018. The course actually is, let's see, writing a paper. And the assignment would be assignment 01. Something of that nature would be what I'm looking for. Now after that, you would put in the title. Assignment 1 could be the title, but it's not a great title. Actually, the title should reflect what you're going to talk about. So, example would be how to write a paper. And then after that, you make an introduction. The introduction can be very short, but you need to have one. Just something that's going to talk about what you're going to tell somebody. What are we going to talk about in this paper? At the end of the paper, you will also have a summary. The summary describes what you have just talked about. Now, it seems redundant. It is, but it's by design. So please stick to that format. In both cases, the introduction and the summary, it can be quite simple, but you need to have them. They don't have to go on for very long, but they must be there. Whenever you're creating a document, you may well want to copy and use a quote from the internet or from a book or wherever. If it's from a book, you can make quotes around whatever text you've copied, indicate the author, indicate the name of the book, who published the book, and when it was published. That will give somebody enough information for them to go and research that quote and learn more about what you found so interesting. Now after that, if you have one or more topics, you start putting the various topics. The topics would be something like, well, starting your paper. And then you talk about that. In most of my assignments, I usually have various different code samples, or I have figures that I want to have included in the document. If it's a code sample, I actually recommend that you paste the code in instead of do an image, but you certainly can put an image in there. If you do, whatever that image is, something you get off the internet, grab an image, I may want to drill into it a little bit further to make sure that the image is indeed available for free. Most of these out here on the like the Google search engine, etc., are available for free, but certainly it's going to be up to you to check those out. Let's say that I want to copy the image. I can do so, and then in the Word document I can paste it. Again, if it is some code, you can take a screenshot of that code. Let's say I've got some SQL code here. I can use the Snipping Tool. I hit the New button. I highlight the area that I want to copy, and bring it in. If you get too much or too little, etc., just make a new example. So for right here, I've got this box right here. I don't really want that, nor do I want the green comment up above. So what I do is I'll click away, and I'll try again. And let's see, Snipping Tool, New. This time I'll be a little bit more careful of what I copy. There we go. Once I get that in the Snipping Tool, I can copy it, bring it back to my Word document, and paste it in. In all cases, you refer to the figure, you talk about the figure, refer to it, and then you show the figure. And then after that, you give a caption for the figure. I recommend that you put that in bold, maybe bold italics to make it stand out. As you go through and you get pictures or text off the internet, make sure that if it's something that somebody might want to research later on, or if you've made a quote, that you refer back to the location you got it. So for example, I have a quote here. This is from a website called BibMe. So I've put in the website name. If you have a name, great. If you don't, you can just go ahead and leave that off. The website doesn't seem to have a name. Put in a link to where they can get to that website and when you found it. It doesn't have to be the month, but a particular year should be useful. That way, if it's been a long time and they can't find it, they have a pretty good idea that maybe it's not out there anymore. If somebody could click on that link, and it would navigate away from your document out to another site, make sure that you indicate that that would happen. This is very helpful for accessibility reasons. If somebody has low vision problems or they're using a screen reader for various different reasons, having this will be read to them as an external site, and so they can choose whether or not to go out, navigate out to that external site or not. If you're not careful, what will happen is that somebody will navigate away and be on a completely different site than what they were originally looking at. That's not really a good thing. So put that in there, please. And if your particular topic has more different nuances of that particular topic, or in other words, subtopics, go ahead and put a subtopic in. Like, for example, we've just been talking about, the topic is start your paper, or starting your paper. And maybe the subtopic is adding in images. If I have more than one topic in the paper, of course, I would go ahead and put more than one topic in. I would make a new heading for that. And if I have more than one subtopic under a given heading, I would put that as well. Once again, for accessibility reasons, I want you to note that I'm using the header designation here in my editing software. Header 1, and then the subtopic has header 2. That's also important for accessibility. Screen readers can actually differentiate between that, which helps the person understand what they're looking at. Back to adding on images. There are times where you may have more images that are closely related and you want to put them next to each other. In general, I do not recommend that you have one image stacked on another, but if that is the case, make sure that you refer to them with some kind of paragraph or a sentence about what the difference is, what the topic is that you're looking at, and then make sure they each have a caption. This will help to define what the difference is between the two images. And again, this would be something where these images are closely related. For example, here I have line 14 from 1 to 14 and then 14 to 28. Obviously, they're closely related, and as such, I might choose to put them right next to each other. In general, the standard practice is to try to put at least one sentence or more between each image that you include. Once again, if you do have code samples that you want to include, instead of using an image, I recommend you just copy and paste the code samples in. So, for example, if I have some Python code, I might take this Python code, copy it right from my Python editing tool and paste it in. If I do that, it may be a very small font. I probably want to make it larger so people can see. 12 may be too big, but 10 or 11 is usually just fine. The font size for my text is at 11, and so putting this text at 10 or 11 makes sense as well. If you want to make your own drawings, there's lots of tools out there that allow you to create your own drawings. If you're using Microsoft Windows, well, they have free drawing software in the form of Paint 3D, which is kind of fun. You can drag stuff onto the screen and make weird-looking images, etc. I'm not entirely sure what that's supposed to be, but whatever. Once again, you can use the Snipping Tool to capture a drawing after you've made it and paste it in. With your own drawings, you still need to call them figures or images. Figures is probably the most common use. And then you can resize it by clicking on it and shrinking it down to something more manageable. I'm putting these yellow highlights in here in my example just so I can have kind of talking points for the video. But in your papers, you would not highlight them. And you would always finish up with a summary, which is one or more sentences talking about what was just being discussed. So I'm hoping that this video will help you to write your papers more professionally. Although it is tedious, I do not like to write. I've written quite a lot over the years, and it has helped my career immensely. My goal is that it will help your career immensely as well. Thanks for watching.